You finished Dunbar, and then college is next.
Yeah. Well, I finished Dunbar in the midterm.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been away to school my life. I've never went through the spring prom business in school. I finished Dunbar. I was one of those happy-go-lucky C students.
Uh-huh.
And but I discovered that well, what happened? My stepfather had a brother who worked in Washington. He was working in the government, but he'd gone to law school. He was developing a law practice, but he had a stroke, died, and his wife gave me a 1924. This was in 1928. She gave me a 1924 annotated Constitution of the United States, and that's when I read the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. I couldn't understand why it didn't segregation laws didn't violate them. So I went down to the Congressional Library and read the cases that were cited as being where the Supreme Court had interpreted these amendments. And I read about Plessy, and just thought they lost the cotton picking minds with that decision. So, and then at that time, you couldn't. The big issue for the NAACP was anti-lynching law, and you couldn't get a law through Congress making it a crime to lynch a Negro, or such give them any political or civic rights. So I decided the only thing left for us to do was for somebody to carry a case back to the Supreme Court and convince them that they ought to reverse Plessy. And, well, somebody ought to do it, so I didn't see a reason why I shouldn't be the somebody.
Now, how did you decide? You're a college sophomore,
Yeah.
and you're reading the Constitution, and you
Yeah.
go down to the Library of Congress and you read these cases. That just seems remarkable to me that you would decide at that young age that you were going to, many years later, challenge Plessy.
No, I didn't decide to do it that way. I decided,
Okay.
decided I was going to go to law school and be trained to be a lawyer
All right.
to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I understand the progression. But just seems to be remarkable that you would say, as a college sophomore, that I'm going to go to law school.
Well, I later on, I was surprised myself. I hadn't thought about it at that time.
Uh-huh.
But I went on to the registrar's office and checked my schedule and found that while I was happy-go-lucky, I had only taken subjects that led to graduation. I had no Crips. And all I needed was one more quarter of foreign language, and of course necessary for the grade points, and that if I went to finish my junior year, I could go to law school at the end of the first year in law school, get my AB. So that's what I decided to do, and that's the way I got to law school in 1930. In the meantime, Thurgood had applied for Maryland's law school and had been denied, but they paid his tuition to come over to Howard. And so that's what he did. But Thurgood had finished Lincoln with honors. So a lot of people thought it was competition between us, but there wasn't any competition so far as I was concerned.
Do you remember when you first met him?
Yeah, first met him at the first class we had. They had the assembly, and Charlie lectured to us. But the old crows, this thing they used to tell you, they look at the person on the left, look at the person on the right, because one of you not going to be here next year. And that attitude. But what happened was the competition between Thurgood and me was over fraternities. Thurgood was Alpha, I was Omega.
Uh-huh.
And the class had about an equal number of students. And so half of them were Alphas, and the rest of them were either Omegas or Kappas or Phi Betas or non-fraternal. And one of the boys heard one of the Alphas say, "Oh, we run this class." And he told me that, so I organized the non-alphas into one group. So I led the non-alphas, and Thurgood was leader of of the alphas. Anything Thurgood and I could agree to happened if we couldn't agree.
It didn't happen.
But in the beauty of it was that we all got out of class about 11:30 every day, and Thurgood and I would go down to Father Divine's place down on E Street, and he used to put up your hand. Peace is truly wonderful.
Yeah, so they pass the food.
And go in and get a fine lunch for a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes Thurgood got the 35-cent lunch. That was deluxe. You ain't going out here.
We got to move on. Tell me about Charles Hamilton Houston.
Now,
What effect did he have on you?
Charlie, Thurgood and I would come back and study over the afternoon, and I had a job waiting table at the hotel, and Thurgood would catch a train and go back to Baltimore. So we would be in the library every afternoon. Well, naturally, Charlie would see us from time to time, and we became his proteges. And he had terrific influence. We really looked up to him. And we used to call him Iron Pants. But other than that, Charlie was a strict disciplinarian. But he also definitely, he told us when we first met that we were going to work hard, and that we were going to get approved by the American Bar Association, and we were going to get approved by the American Association of American Law Schools. And we in about a year and a half, we got approval of both groups. But he had us going to classes 5 days a week. On Saturdays, we would do field work. Because most of us had no previous experience with anything like the courts and hospitals like that, St. Elizabeth Hospital, the Lorden prison, the FBI. We went around everywhere, giving us experience.